Welcome back and thanks so much for staying with Sunrise Live on E! Now, this weekend we'll see the South African Davis Cup team tackle Lithuania in Pretoria Irene Country Club following their massive win over Monaco earlier this year. However, tennis in the country still faces issues of development and securing South African professionals to take part in local tournaments. And joining us to talk more about this, Tennis SA Media Manager Bruce Davidson and Davis Cup team member Dean O'Brien. You at home, you're most welcome to contribute to this conversation. Guys, thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much indeed for coming in. I just want to look at, Dean, your involvement in tennis, because it really starts with a desire for youngsters to want to participate because they idolize, the Wayne Ferreiras of this world. They may idolize many others. So how did you get involved in tennis?
You know, I started at 5 years old. We had a tennis court in my backyard. You know, my dad played on Sundays with friends, and we happened to have a tennis club really nearby. So I started going for some tennis coaching and then started to really enjoy it. And, you know, when I was around 10 years old, I think I remember we had a Davis Cup tie between South Africa and, was it Slovakia, I think. And, you know, that really, got my interest into it, and I started playing some junior tournaments, and then as my ranking got higher and higher, I started, to go for bigger goals and ended up going to the States on a scholarship, and now I'm playing professionally and for my country too. So, you know, that's how I got into it, and, you know, that's how the seed was planted.
Wow. For me. And Bruce, I think that back in our day, it was still the Pete Sampras's of this world that were world ranking, and we see the Rafael Nadal and so many other youngsters coming through. When we look at South Africa's ranking #1, I mean, we're 38 in so many other countries. There was a stage where we were in the top 10 of world rankings when it comes to the Davis Cup. What happened?
You know, in the good old days, tennis was the #3 most important coach sport in South Africa. It was only 2 other sports above us. There was lots of money in tennis. And when you got lots of money, you can do so much, especially on the development side. And one of the key factors of tennis success in those days was a super squad system, whereby a lot of money was put into a squad where they took the top 8 girls, top 8 boys, put top coaches, and they took them around the world to expose them to the world, to get them used to travel, and paid all the expenses. Of those top 8, 6 of them could never have done it. They didn't have the finances. So they were exposed, and all of a sudden we had Wayne Ferreira, Amanda Kutze, Grant Stafford, Marcus Udriska, Jeanette Kruger, Marion Deswan. They just all exploded. Now, these are all top 100 players. And therefore, we had this incredible pool of players. When it all collapsed, right, and when tennis lost all its sponsors, the super squad system died. Yeah. And we just weren't able to produce those top players. Dean is lucky, because he comes from a family that has the opportunity to give him that, but there's a lot of kids out there that just haven't had it.
Yeah, but I mean, this is not the narrative that young people necessarily want to hear, because we're bursting with opportunity, and you're told that South Africa is a great nation. We've got such tremendous potential. Dean, in attracting professionals as well to participate in local tournaments, you yourself, you're US-based, and that's because there are more opportunities there. How then do we motivate if there are no role models locally for youngsters to emulate?
Well, that's exactly the problem. You know, I feel like a lot of kids in those vital years between 12 and 15 don't have any professionals to look up to in their country. You know, when you're not seeing the top level day in and day out, you don't know how good you need to be. And, you know, I ended up just going to the States because there weren't many professional tournaments in South Africa, and I got my degree over there in America and stayed there because there's tournaments week in, week out in the States. Yeah. It just makes life a lot easier being there than being in South Africa and having to fly to Europe or Asia, you know, every second week to play tournaments.
Okay, but we still want bums on seats for this weekend. It's happening at Irene Country Club, and this is the SA Davis Cup. Let's quickly take a caller. AV, you calling us from Soweto. Hello to you.